Well, while there is a villain in this episode, the show takes a back seat and takes time to focus on its characters in one of the most realistic portrayals of sexuality I have seen on TV in quite some time. Hey guys, it's Kevin here for Supergirl, Season 2, Episode 6, Changing, and you guys know that I have really been enjoying the season so far. I've just been really impressed with what they've been doing with this season, and this was another really great episode, and I think Changing really was the perfect title for this show, because in many ways, the show in general is fundamentally changing. I mean, the stakes are a lot higher, the storylines, the quality is just really getting better, and this episode in general, while it did have kind of a throwaway villain that I thought was well done, this episode really, I think, is going to be remembered for its big character moments, because this was a huge character episode. There were so many great moments, particularly for Alex, and I have to say that this episode did a really great job at, I think, exploring sexuality and someone who's confused and someone who's just learning something about themselves they didn't really know before, and I think it's a really great episode for people to watch who are in fact struggling with that. I think everyone struggles with it at some point. They always wonder, am I gay? Am I straight? You know, they always wonder that, and I think this episode portrayed that very, very well, and this is by far one of the best episodes of the season. I really did enjoy this episode, and I really do love what the show is doing and what it has to say about sexuality, things like that. But let's just get into this episode, because I really do love this season, and I think they're really killing in terms of storylines, definitely. So we see the episode opens in a weather facility research in Norway, and scientists have discovered a wolf's corpse in the permafrost. Even though the wolf was frozen for thousands of years, the wolf's body is strangely still warm. We don't know why, but one of the scientists cuts it open, sticks his hand inside, but something grabs him, pulls his hand deeper. That was a very interesting scene, the way that was done. Definitely an interesting way to start the episode, but we see over in National City, Mon-El and Kara are having a drink together at the Alien Bar, while John and Mehcad bond. Mon-El still doesn't really have control over his powers, we see, so he agrees to train with Kara as long as she drinks the potent alien alcohol in front of her. So Kara is getting wasted. We see she's actually drunk, and I thought that was kind of a funny scene, but Alex talks to Maggie about coming out to Alex's family, that, you know, she now knows that she is a lesbian. She needs to come out to her family. You know, she can't keep this inside of her, and unfortunately, John and Alex get called into work to investigate a distress call from the Norwegian research facility. They were going to have Kara do, but Kara's just too drunk at this point, so they arrive, they find the researcher's body sucked dry like withered corpses, and I will say, they did a really good job at making this villain like a horror film. Like, this legitimately was creepy, and they did a good job with that, but they find the researcher's body sucked dry like withered corpses. However, one scientist, the one who stuck his hand in the wolf corpse, is actually still alive, so they fly him back to the DO, and the next day, Alex says the scientist, whose name is Jones, not John Jones, just Jones, he remained at DEO headquarters for observation, but Jones says he needs to continue his research, and as Jones leaves the DEO, a slug-like alien emerges from his mouth and crawls into his ear. Just really creepy stuff, and I think he did a really good job with actually making this like a horror film. It definitely was legitimately scary, but that is nothing compared to how great the character moments are in this episode. So the next morning, Supergirl and Mon-El are training together, and I like the way these two are establishing being a team, but I also like that things went different than what we thought. We see Supergirl is easily in control of their sparring, and as we know, you know, she's now agreed to train him, but she's not going to, you know, force him to do this if he doesn't want to, and I think that's definitely one of the biggest things about this episode. But then we get to the stuff that really propels this episode and really makes it one of, I think, the standouts of the series so far, and that is Alex and Kara's relationship, which has always been, in my opinion, the most important relationship this show has had. And that's something the CW tends to do, is they tend to feature family relationships over love relationship. Like, the love relationship is still there, but that's never the most important bond in the show. When we think of Arrow, what is the most important bond? That of Oliver and Diggle, or Oliver and Thea. Those are the most important bonds. You know, yes, there's Oliver and Felicity, but they're not the most important. When we think of The Flash, easily the most important bond is Joe and Barry. That's the bond we think of immediately, is the bond that they have. And Supergirl, it's no different. It's Kara and Alex. That has always been the most important bond, and that is never been more prevalent than it has in this episode. We see she interrupts, she asks to talk to Kara alone, and on the subsequent walk, we see Alex actually does come out to Kara, and I thought it was really well done the way this was, because it was a very realistic portrayal of someone who is feeling some way, and someone who really doesn't understand, like, how, I'm not saying that Kara didn't understand Alex being gay, I'm not saying that, but I think Kara just had more She was a bit confused and things like that, but Kara doesn't quite understand why Alex is feeling this way now. It just seems to have come out of nowhere, and Alex says that she has felt this way before, but that she's tried to repress those feelings because she was afraid, and she's always kind of felt something inside of her, like maybe this just wasn't really going that well for her, and it makes sense, as we knew she couldn't find a date, she couldn't really find someone, and when Kara asks about Maggie, Alex suddenly gets upset and she leaves. She's not comfortable with talking about her in front of Kara, which that, again, is something very realistic. The fact that someone's out, but they're not ready to be out in terms of dating and thinking about the same sex in that kind of way, that, again, is very realistic, because some people, yeah, they come out, but they don't fully come out. What I mean is that they know they're gay, but they don't really not act like they're gay, it's not the word, I don't want you guys to think gay people act differently, because they really don't, they're very much like the same person, but they were. I'm just saying, like, they don't really think of, they're not, she's not ready to be fully gay. Like, she's definitely ready to be gay, but not fully, and I think that was something the shows did very, very well. But I also like the way that Kara reacted to this, because Kara's reaction is a completely natural reaction of her and me, like, does this mean you're gay too? Because Alex said up talking about Maggie and how she felt about her, and I thought that was really well done, the way that scene was done. One of my favorite scenes the show has done, honestly, and I think it's something that this episode in particular just handled really, really well. It took a very difficult subject, and they made it real, and that's something that I would have never expected the show to do. I would have expected the show to tackle it very cheesy and very unrealistic, and this is probably one of the most real portrayals of sexuality that I've seen on TV in a very long time. I really love the way it was portrayed here. So Jones continues to observe the creature's growth, notes that it seems to be consuming his red blood cells, and Jones's boss, who seems to be a climate change skeptic, she walks in, tries to fire him, but Jones says that they, meaning the parasite, don't find that acceptable. So back at the DEO, Wynn pulls up a video from the research center which shows Jones attacking the other scientists and draining all their energy, and Alex and Supergirl then head to National City University to bring in Jones, but he drains Supergirl of her power and then shrugs off several bullets from Alex before leaving the building, and Alex runs some tests on Supergirl, but John sends her home to rest, James then shows up, worried about Kara, then tells Wynn to give him his new superhero suit. As we know, he wants to be a superhero, but Wynn snaps at James, says that the suit is just a glorified Halloween costume because it's not ready yet. There's nothing in it that's going to protect James, and that's something that is very important when you have a superhero costume. You want to make sure it's going to protect you. It's not ready to protect him. And if James goes into the field, he'll die, and he can't help Kara or anyone else. So really, this is just going to end up really bad for him. But again, I like they're giving James something to do. I know a lot of people are not a huge fan of this, but I like where this is going. I like they're giving him something to do, and I think overall it's working really well. It's really working in Mehcad Brooks' favor. But Alex then shows up at Kara's apartment, says that Kara's been acting weird ever since Alex came out to her, and that again is a completely natural reaction. I mean, this person that Kara saw, there's a whole part of her that she's never really understood about her sister, and that she's never really told her about, and that's something that obviously Kara's not exactly okay with. She says she's okay with Alex being gay, but that she's sorry because Alex never felt comfortable sharing those feelings with Kara before. She is not upset that Alex is gay. It's not she doesn't feel comfortable around her. It's the fact that she feels like she was afraid to talk to her about it, and she doesn't really understand why. Kara said they spent so much time worrying about her secrets, she never stopped to think that Alex had something to share with her too. And that's very, very true. 99% of the time, what has Alex and Kara been talking about? Kara's problems. They've never really gone into Alex's problems, and for once, they actually are talking about something that has nothing to do with Kara. This is all about Alex and her own, who she is as a person, and Alex and Kara hug it out. But the Dio sent in just a really well done scene with Kara very quickly accepting what Alex is going through. I really like that, and I like that they were able to talk this out, and Kara asked her how Maggie is and everything. Just a really well done scene. But the Dio sends an alert that an alien is beating someone up in an alley, and when Supergirl arrives, she finds that Mon-El is working as an enforcer for a bookie. Supergirl calls Mon-El a bad person, but Mon-El counters by saying that Supergirl is only a hero because she likes the adultation, and Supergirl ends up giving up on Mon-El and actually flying back to the DEO. Not at all surprised. I kind of expected this to happen, where Mon-El was going to go in a more rebellious direction. He seems, while Kara is so intent on saving people, Mon-El seems like he's just interested in doing whatever he feels like. Like, he's not really that interested when it comes to saving people. He wants to help them, obviously, but he's not nearly as interested as Kara is. He's not a superhero. That's just who Mon-El isn't. He's not a superhero. He's someone who's still learning about the world. He's not really trained like Kara is, and because of that, they react to things very differently. I think the show is doing that very, very well. I like the relationship relation between Kara and Mon-El. I like how complicated it is, and I like they're not at all the same person. I was worried that was going to happen, but I like that they're going in this very different direction with him, and it makes total sense of why he would end up bailing on Kara and not wanting to team up with her. So the DO then sends Supergirl to stop Jones from killing a climate change lobbyist. Supergirl and John try to stop him, but Jones ends up draining both of them with all the extra energy. Jones transforms to a giant purple monster and runs off, leaving John and Supergirl withered on the ground. Good effects, may I say. This was a little bit cheesy, but I thought that was definitely well done. But Alex then gets John and Kara back to the DO. Although both are in pretty bad shape, John needs a blood infusion to survive, so Alex leaves to get Mehcad, and we know that Mehcad obviously isn't really to be trusted, but meanwhile, Jimmy tells Wynn that they need to get him into, not Jimmy, James tells Wynn, I say Jimmy, I'm sorry, I hear Jimmy, I think of Jimmy Collins, Jeremy Jordan's other character from Smash. I still remember that show. I'm one of the few people that do, but yeah, I still remember that character. When I hear Jimmy, that's what I think of. It's kind of like he's talking to himself, but either way, Jimmy and Wynn are two completely different people, definitely. James tells Wynn, I mean, I'm pretty sure they would probably hate each other. I'll say that right now. They probably would hate each other if they met, just because Jimmy was such an asshole and Wynn's just not. They would completely hate each other. But either way, I digress. James tells Wynn that they need to get him into the field, so Wynn finally gives him his new superhero suit because he knows that, James is eager and everything. And Alex then goes to the bar to grab Mehcad. She finds Mon-El drinking shots and moping, and Alex says that Kara believes in Mon-El, but Alex thinks that he's just a coward, and yeah, I think that, yeah, she's definitely right about that, that he really is just being a coward, and that he doesn't want to fight, he wants to do his own thing, he's being weak, and I like the fact that she's not going to stand for it. I like the way that was done, and the confidence that Kara gave her, showing the bond that they have, I think really does, again, show how much that relation matters. But Alex takes Mehcad back to the DO, explains that John needs Mehcad's blood to survive. Mehcad tries to protest and says that John wouldn't want this, but Alex says they don't have any other choice. And as they begin the procedure, Mehcad asks John to forgive her, and the parasite attacks the keynote speaker of a climate conference, but Mon-El stops him from killing him. When the parasite grabs Mon-El, James, now going by the super name Guardian, arrives to save the day, and with Wynn providing backup from a secret delivery van, Guardian fights the parasite while Mon-El rescues civilians from the collateral fire. Meanwhile, and we don't know who Guardian is. They don't know who Guardian is, which I think is interesting. But meanwhile, Supergirl wakes up. She flies to a nuclear power plant to grab some plutonium, and then use it to overload Parasite's system, causing him to explode, and in the and he explodes, which that was a really cool scene, the way that was done. I thought it was crazy the way he exploded, but in the aftermath, Supergirl thanks Mon-El for showing up, and then thanks Guardian, who has a lead-line suit to protect his identity. So obviously, he doesn't want Kara to know that he is being the Guardian. We know that Kara didn't want him to fight in the first place, and I like the way that right now he's keeping this hidden. It gives us something to build on. It gives us some sort of suspense to have, and it gives James so far a very compelling arc, and I hope that it stays that way, because I think overall that's very interesting. So the next day, Wynn visits James at Catco. By the way, I haven't talked about this. I love the dynamic we have between James and Wynn. I think it's just one of the best things this season has done. The fact that they're not fighting over Kara and that they're just being friends, I really like. There's not anything to fight over. This is them broing it out, and I love that. It's very much like the relation between Oliver and Diggle, or the relationship between that of, Barry and Cisco. It's just two bros, and I love that. They agree to keep helping James be the Guardian, and I like the way that Wynn's actually helping him cover it up, and they dubbed themselves the Super Friends, which is pretty hilarious, because we know what that actually means, but I thought that was kind of funny. John then wakes up with Mehcad and decides, thanks her for the blood infusion. Although he seems grateful, Mehcad notices that John's hand is shaking, which obviously worries her. We don't know what's going on with that, but as we know, Mehcad isn't really to be trusted. We know who she really is, and obviously there's definitely something going on there. I don't know if John's starting to suspect what's going on, but definitely something is going on with that, so we'll have to see. Alex then shows up at the alien bar, and she tells Maggie to buy her a drink. Maggie asks what she's having. We get this great scene where, finally, Alex now coming out and, getting the acceptance of Kara, realizing that she cares about her and everything, and that she is going to let her be who she wants to be. She grabs Maggie and she kisses her. However, Maggie lets Alex down gently by pointing out that Alex is actually still fresh off the boat, and that she still sees everything as shiny and new. Maggie says that those relationships never end well, because this is Alex's first, relationship. This is simply her experimenting, and that she wants to be there for Alex as a friend. And what I mean by experimenting, obviously Alex knows that she's a lesbian, but she's ready to rush into a relationship. She's ready to be in a relationship with Maggie immediately because she wants to feel something different. She wants to feel this fulfillment, and Maggie isn't really ready to give that to her yet. I like that Maggie's like, whoa, whoa, chill, take it slow, and it shows that this isn't just us, oh, Maggie and Alex need to get together. That's not all this is. Do I want them to be together? Yeah, I think they have really good chemistry, definitely. But is it just them getting them together? No, it's all about Alex exploring her sexuality, realizing who she is, and I think that's something that this has done very, very well by bringing this character of Maggie. It's getting Alex to get this whole more interesting arc that she never really had last season, and I love that. Alex gets upset, she leaves the bar, and it's just a really great scene. We see that Alex is obviously very upset about that, but later that night, Car shows up at Alex's apartment, and Alex doesn't really want to let her in, we see. When Car flies in through the window, Alex breaks down, tells her about Maggie, and it's just a really well done scene between these two sisters. You can tell that Alex obviously feels very unsatisfied. She wants something from Maggie. Maggie's not just going to easily give it to her, and I like that. I like that things aren't really going her way. Again, it's very realistic. I like the way that's going, and I think that's something that the show is just doing really, really well. So the episode then ends with Mon-El. He's stopping to help a homeless man, only for the man to taser him. So random. This really came out of nowhere. This black van pulls up. Cadmus agents throw Mon-El inside. We have no idea really what they want with him, but that is the way the episode ends. I knew we were going to get something with that, but that is the way this ends overall. Really great episode. Let me just get into it and talk about everything I really did like and where I really think the rest of this is headed. So apart from that really random and really abrupt ending, this was a really solid character episode. Yes, Parasite was really intimidating and definitely was something out of a horror movie, but I would argue that this episode was less about Parasite and more about Alex realizing who she really is and coming to terms with her new sexuality and realizing, what that means for her and how much more freedom she really has and how she can finally be herself. And that's something this episode did really, really well. It's not just getting Maggie and Alex together. That's not what this is all about. Yes, that's part of it, but it's more about Alex discovering herself, coming to terms with really who she is and getting that, feel of what it really means to be a lesbian and what she really, and I don't think she's lesbian, I think she's bi, but definitely I think overall that's very interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing really what's going to happen with that, and I like that Maggie told her, you need to take this slow, you need to chill, you need to relax, and it's not going to work out right now. Right now is not the time. Yes, there might be a time for Maggie and Alex in the future. In fact, I think there very well is a time for Maggie and Alex in the future. I think they will in fact date on the show at some point. Now it's just not the time. Alex is still exploring who she is. Maggie's not ready to just date anyone, and I like that. I think it just really shows how good of a person Maggie is and how used to this she really is. Alex is very new to this, and Maggie's not, and I think that's something that they're showing very well here, which I really did like. And I like the relationship between Car and Alex. Like I said, that really did make a lot of this episode for me. Their scenes are just so great, and I like that Car was accepting of her. I just thought overall was really good stuff there. As far as John and McGon go, like I said, McGon I do not trust whatsoever. I know there's definitely something more going on with her. Why is John shaking? Does he suspect that there's something going on with McGon? I don't really know, but definitely something is happening with that. We'll have to see. I don't really know what that's all about, but I think that overall is very interesting. I like the direction that Mon-El has had. I like that Mon-El right now doesn't really want to help Kara. He's there to kind of just do his own thing, and he doesn't really know what his purpose is yet, and that's completely understandable. I mean, again, he just came down to Earth. Just like Alex is discovering what her sexuality is, Mon-El is discovering who he is. How does he really fit to Earth? He's still acclimating to it, and that's something that's gonna take a while. I think probably not till the end of the season. Mon-El will probably still be acclimating, definitely, but what does Cadmus really want with him? Why have they kidnapped him? We don't really know. We know the cars tried to keep him a secret, so I don't know how they got word that Mon-El is there, but definitely there's more going on there. We'll have to see. That's going to be very interesting. And I like this mystery right now with James and him having to protect himself, being the guardian, and Car not knowing. That's going to come to fruition at some point, but I think it's going to be a while. I like that the show is keeping that a secret. Last season, they would have just revealed it in the episode, and I like that they're doing things a little bit more slow paced. We still have a villain, but they're not really focusing on that villain yet. And it is kind of what they do with Astra, but they have more episodes this season, so there's a lot more they can do with this character, and I hope that this is a villain that's throughout the season, not just something where it's like, oh, Asher's a villain, oh, just kidding, it's actually not. I'm hoping they don't do that this season, because it kind of pissed me off that they did that. A very wasted villain, in my opinion, and I hope that does not happen this season. I'm really enjoying the season, though, as you guys know. I love where this show is headed. I love the way they focused on sexuality. I thought all of that was very well done, but also the storyline with Mon-El, just all the stuff the show is doing with characters this season is completely on point. Even if the villains aren't that memorable, it's fine, because what the show is doing so well is it's both a fun procedural superhero show that you really don't need to watch every single week, and if you do, maybe you'll miss something kind of important, but it'll catch you up very quickly. And two, it's doing a really great job of addressing who these people are, focusing on the secondary characters more, and making this more of an ensemble show than ever. Yes, Carr, of course, is our titular lead, but Alex is just as important, James just as important, Wayne is just as important, and, you know, all the characters in the show, Mon-El, Maggie, they feel like they've been there from the beginning. Mon-El especially feels like he's been there since the beginning, and I think they're doing that really well here. I absolutely am loving this season. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. What do you think of the way they handled, you know, what happened with Alex in this episode? That's in my review. Hope you all enjoy it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for Scream Queens. I know it has been so long since I've done a Scream Queens review, but it's been a long time since that show has been on. So I'm going to review episode 4, which was like 5 weeks ago. I don't know how long it's been, but I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.